Hello, everyone. My name is Suzanne Lipkin.
And I'm Anne-Marie Van Russel.
And I'm Gabriella Steinberg.
As members of the Theater Library Association, or TLA Book Awards Committee, we will be your hosts for tonight's award ceremony.
We are also all staff of the Billy Rose Theater Division here at the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts, located at Lincoln Center in New York City.
It is our pleasure to welcome you here tonight as we celebrate a year of impressive scholarship and professional accomplishment.
Along with our fellow TLA members and the jurors who selected this year's honored books, we will be joined by our winning authors from across the country.
First, we'll hear from TLA President Diana King. Then, TLA's Professional Awards Committee will present the Louis Rachow Distinguished Service in Performing Arts Librarianship Award and the Brooks McNamara Performing Arts Librarian Scholarship.
Following this, we will have the presentations of the 2023 Book Awards winners in two categories. The George Freedley Memorial Award, named for the former NYPL theater curator, honors outstanding books on live theater or performance. We give our sincerest appreciation and thanks to this year's Freedley jurors, Rachel Bauer, Benjamin Gillespie, and Marty LaMonaco.
The Richard Wall Memorial Award, named for the longtime TLA member and Book Awards chair, honors outstanding books on recorded or broadcast performance. A hearty round of applause goes out to our longtime Wall jurors, David Pierce, Stephen Tropiano, and Kathy Fuller-Seeley.
Each year, our jurors read dozens of books to make their selections, and this year is no exception. While we're always impressed by the breadth of topics of the books submitted, we're especially grateful this year for the in-depth scholarship on the topics our winners covered, including histories of women, Latinx, and Black theater makers, and how the legacies of early filmmaking, including one of its biggest stars, were created.
We are also pleased to share a glimpse of the kinds of library and archival sources these authors researched to create their works. Following the ceremony, if you didn't see it already when you joined us tonight, is a slideshow of archival materials related to the winning books from the special collections of the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts.
And now we invite TLA President Diana King to share a welcome from the Theater Library Association. Thank you all for celebrating with us this evening.
Hello, my name is Diana King, current president of the Theater Library Association, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the annual TLA Book Awards Ceremony, celebrating award winners for outstanding English language works of scholarship on live and recorded performance that were published in 2023. Congratulations to all of the winners and nominees of the TLA Book Awards, as well as the Brooks McNamara Scholarship and the Louis Rachow Distinguished Service in Performing Arts Librarianship Award. TLA is proud to celebrate all of the talented authors, scholars, and professionals who were honored this year. Your work is crucial to the continued relevance and historical understanding of the performing arts in all their contexts. I also want to particularly thank the Book Awards Committee and the Professional Awards Committee chairs and members for all their hard work and long hours reviewing the many deserving titles and applications that were received this year. Finally, thank you, as always, to the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts for its long-standing support in making this public program possible and for sharing some of their many fantastic special collections holdings in a slideshow for this presentation. Now, please enjoy the rest of the program, and congratulations again to all the winners and nominees.
I'm delighted to introduce this year's recipient of the Louis Rachow Award for Distinguished Service in Performing Arts Librarianship. Throughout her career, Tiffany Nixon has shared her knowledge and expertise as a performing arts archivist with colleagues, students, and performing arts professionals throughout the United States and abroad in significant ways. I had known Tiffany for a number of years, but I became most acutely aware of her talents when she joined the American Theater Archive Project, an organization created in 2009 to help American theater companies establish and maintain their archives to ensure their legacies. Tiffany had already secured her reputation as a prominent archivist within the New York theater community, having worked with individual artists and theater companies. With ATAP, she provided training, advice, and hands-on assistance to theater companies in New York and around the country. She wrote significant portions of ATAP's archiving manual, and she presented an online introduction to her work at the Roundabout Theater Company. These important contributions to ATAP's training materials continue to be utilized through the organization's website. As founding director of the Roundabout Theater Company's archives from 2008 to 2024, Tiffany was responsible for a wide range of activities, including acquiring and managing the institutional archives, developing protocol and policy for all aspects of born digital and digitized documents, devising and conducting the company's oral history project, supporting Roundabout's education department and exhibitions program, and supervising and mentoring interns and administrative apprentices. Tiffany has supported professional associations and educational institutions in numerous ways. She was a member of the executive board of the Theater Library Association and co-chaired TLA's Book Awards Committee for several years. She served on the board of the Archivist Roundtable of New York and on the executive committee of SIBMAS, for which she served as conference proceedings editor for 4 years. As adjunct professor at NYU's Tisch Production and Design Studio, Tiffany introduces future theater designers to the research methods and resources available to them through her lectures and on-site visits to New York libraries and archives. With her recent appointment as head of special collections and college archives at the Fashion Institute of Technology, Tiffany continues to share her knowledge and expertise with a community of professional and student designers and to administer, develop, and preserve the collections of that institution for generations to come. For her unflagging and open-hearted dedication to the preservation of performing arts archives, to the education of future artists, and to the professional organizations that support that work, the Theater Library Association presents Tiffany Nixon with the 2024 Louis Rachow Award for Distinguished Service in Performing Arts Librarianship. Congratulations, Tiffany.
Hi, this is Tiffany Nixon. Thank you very much, Theater Library Association, for this incredible honor. I remember first hearing about TLA back in 2008, 2009. I met with Marty LaMonaco to talk about the ways that I could get involved with the association. And it's been an incredible journey over these now 16, 17 years working in the field. I was working originally at New York Public Library, heard about this incredible opportunity to start the archives for Roundabout Theater Company, and took that job in 2008 and was there up until this past year in 2024, when Roundabout made the decision to move toward a purely digital archive. Through the years, I have had the incredible opportunity of working with so many of our colleagues in the field. I really want to say a huge thank you to Susan Brady for being a mentor and an incredible friend and colleague through the years as we talk about all of these projects and the ways that theaters can save their legacy. I also want to send a shout out to the Schubert archivists, Mark, Sylvia, and Ariel, for all of their support and encouragement and friendship over the years. I mean, I really believe that theaters can play an incredible part in safeguarding their history for future scholarship and entrance for practitioners, and really have made that my life goal over the last 15 years to work with a lot of different kinds of theaters, to talk about their legacy, to help them frame archives and archives initiatives so that they could, have agency in the work. And I will continue to do that work. I've moved on from theater, working now at a university, but it will always be something that I am very passionate about and interested in finding ways to help theater makers and theater companies and the collections that end up taking these incredible records to find a way forward. So thank you again for this honor. It really does mean a lot.
My name is Courtney Thomas, and I am a current Master's of Library and Information Science student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I'm honored to accept the 2024 McNamara Scholarship. I was so excited to learn that this year's essay topic was equitable representation. In my essay, I discussed how this principle can be applied from archives and archival policies to interpretive exhibitions. I discussed projects that excite me and that I've been involved in at the Harry Ransom Center, the University of Texas, and the Library of Congress, where I spent my summer as a junior fellow in the music division. Once again, thank you so much for selecting me for this scholarship.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Tropiano.
My name is David Pierce.
The two of us, along with Catherine Fuller, we are the judges for the 2023 Richard Wall Memorial Award, which honors exemplary work in the field of recorded performance. The TLA is an association committed to furthering the advancement of archivists and librarians, as well as highlighting the diverse collections we maintain. So the focus of our award should be on shining a light on the profession and the collections we make accessible and preserve. This year's first prize goes to Dimitris Latsis, How the Movies Got a Pass, A History of American Cinema, 1894 to 1930, published by Oxford University Press. Through his voluminous research into early scientific publications, trade journals, public lectures, and rare archival sources, Dimitros Latsis' study of early historiography reconstructs the growth of the foundational discourse surrounding motion pictures as both a new American art form and an emerging industry. In the process, Latsis' fascinating survey, grounded in case studies, uncovers the cinema's historical roots in education, commerce, and the passion of early film collectors. As Latsis writes, what does practicing the history of the moving image mean in the 21st century? This book aims to show the way the history of cinema was thought, recorded, and disseminated, has reflected the multimedia character of the medium itself since the very beginning. Any study of the past writing of film history is therefore incomplete without its crucial intertext found in the history of film restoration, of film education, of the commemoration of early milestone in industry events, and of the production of self-reflective films, all of which are elements of a richer and broader meta-history of the moving image. On behalf of the judges, we congratulate Dimitros Latsis.
Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to express to you how happy and delighted I am to receive the Richard Wall Award from the Theater Library Association for my book, How the Movies Got a Past, from Oxford University Press. This has been a research labor of love, and it has taken me 7 years of digging in the archives for documents and films, for ephemera, for the things that slip through the cracks often that we as historians make hay with. And it is a particular honor for many reasons to receive this award, primarily because it is an award that has shed light on very important work in film history in the last 30 plus years. Illustrious predecessors that have already received it, whose work also forms a foundation on which my book is based. It is also a pleasure because without the work of librarians and archivists, it would literally have not existed. And in this case, it is not meant as a sort of sense of false humility, but the topic, the very topic of the book, dealing with historiography of the medium in its early years, is a reflection on the power of the archive and the power of collecting and archiving to telling a certain history and shaping a version of the past for the future. My hope is that the methodology of this book, which is very open as to what constitutes history writing, not just the literal print and the books, but also the films themselves, the way the movie studios and the filmmakers, the artistic community started creating a past of their own as a brand new medium, is very important to consider and systematically. There's ongoing work around the world, and some of it in English in this area, and my hope is that it will increase. It's also something that I actively teach in, and my students at both Ryerson, now Toronto Metropolitan University, and now at the University of Alabama, my students in audiovisual archiving and film historiography have actively contributed. My hope is also that this book will have an ongoing life in other creative endeavors. I have already curated a program of films derived from the third chapter at the Pordenone Silent Film Festival in 2019. These were films about the movie studios themselves. And there is also, as a companion to the book on my website at the University of Alabama, a full list of sources and the aforementioned films embedded in a digital chronology that anybody can explore and use for teaching. So it is truly, the documentation that undergirds the book that I wanted to put into the spotlight. My mentors over the years, starting with my graduate supervisor, Dr. Lauren Rabinovitz, my colleagues at Ryerson University and the program in film and photography preservation and collections management, as well as my colleagues here at the University of Alabama at the School of Library and Information Studies, where I currently teach and coordinate the EBSCO program in audiovisual preservation, certainly provided the conversations, the necessary prodding and devil's advocate that was needed to take this book off the ground. This, as well as many of my colleagues' books, was completed during the pandemic, and so my family in Greece and here in North America, including my partner Ava Lowry, have shared in the labor and in the patience and in the countless suggestions that brought it to fruition. I would also like to take some time to recognize the work of my fellow finalists for this award, as well as for the award in theater and performance history that is given simultaneously. I think these areas are vibrant, alive. They are areas that bring together the academic world that is so often separated from that of libraries and archives. We often tokenize the archives and the libraries as resources, as fonts to be dipped into and then forgotten about once our labor is done. But my hope is that everybody will see that this book is meant to engage in an ongoing dialogue with the acts of archiving and collecting. I look forward to chatting more and seeing what use people can make of it. Thank you again to the selecting committee for patiently reading through all the volumes that were submitted, and for this incredible honor that I do not take lightly. Have a good evening and see you all soon.
On behalf of the judges of the 2023 Richard Wall Award, we are pleased to announce the winner of this year's special jury prize to Scott Eyman, Charlie Chaplin versus America, When Art, Sex, and Politics Collided, published by Simon & Schuster. This well-researched and beautifully written biography focuses on a period of transition in Charlie Chaplin's life, from the production of The Great Dictator in 1940 through the actor's 1952 involuntary exile. As Scott Eyman writes, quote, "This book is a social, political, and cultural history of a crucial period in the life of a seminal 20th century figure, the original independent filmmaker who gradually fell into mortal combat with his adopted country, precisely because of the beliefs that form the core of his personality and films. This book focuses on the planned ideological strikes that banished Chaplin from his adopted country while he was engaged in making the most controversial films of his life, a story that eerily foretells the homicidal cultural and political life of the 21st century. It is also about an indomitable, compulsively creative man struggling to sustain his voice in an art form, evolving in ways that did not play to his strengths. And finally, it is about how Charlie Chaplin lost his audience, then gradually found it again. It's time to see Charlie clear. On behalf of the judges, we congratulate Scott Eyman.
I'm Scott Eyman, and I'd like to thank you all for awarding me the Richard Wall Award. An enormous thrill for me, as it was the first time. To be honest with you, the Chaplin book is a pandemic book. It was January of 2020. I just finished my Cary Grant project that I shipped off to the publisher. Generally, I take 6 to 8 months off between a book and the next one, but this time with the whole world closing down around us, including all the archives that I've depended on for 40 and 50 years, it behooved me, I thought, to come up with something else to pour myself into to maintain my sanity. And then becomes, well, what am I going to do? And then I realized, well, that the Chaplin archives are completely digitized. Okay, so what aspect of Charlie Chaplin's life can I write about? Well, after a couple days of thinking about it, I realized that nobody had ever done a deep dive into the process by which the most beloved comedian of the 20th century had been kicked out of his adopted country. And I thought, well, there's something that bears repeating. So I proposed the project to the Chaplin estate, who said, okay, go ahead. And they sent me a password. Because the Chaplin archives consist of everything that Sid Chaplin shipped over to Charlie in 1953 and 1954 after he'd been kicked out of the country. The only stuff that's off limits to researchers are certain financial papers, divorce papers, income tax stuff, things of that nature. Otherwise, it's pretty much all there. So they shipped me a password and I began roaming around. And for the next 2 years, I had the most purely pleasurable experience of my writing life. Some books you get into, and it's like 500 miles of bad road. And you know very quickly on that you're running the risk of having your emotional transmission ripped out from under you because it's so difficult. This was not that book. This book was as if I'd been scratching an itch I didn't even know I had. And by the time in 2022 that the world began reopening again, I was just about getting to the end of the material that I was looking for in the Chaplin archives. The Library of Congress, for instance, USC, the Academy, the Nixon Library, the Truman Library. I needed all of them to reopen, and they all reopened within 5 or 6 months of each other. At which point, my invaluable research associate, Will Coates, began funneling stuff to me so I could complete the picture that I'd been building with the help of the Chaplin archives. The takeaway for me of this entire process is the invaluable nature of digitized collections. The example of the Chaplin estate, the Churchill archives in England, and other institutions that have digitized specific aspects of their collections seems to me to be a profoundly democratic evolution to make the writing of books and the parsing out of knowledge even more pervasive than it has been up till now, because not everybody has the funds to travel around the world to every library that might have material they need to examine. Luckily, I'm not in that position. Luckily, I can do traveling. I can hire a researcher or two if I need to, but not everybody can. So, if nothing else, I hope that this book and the process by which I wrote it will encourage more people to digitize as much of their collections as they deem possible. With that said, you all have my gratitude and my promise to keep doing the very best work I'm capable of in the future for as long as I can keep doing it in the future. Thanks so much.
Hello, I'm very excited, pleased, and honored to announce the 2024 Freedley Award winner, which goes to Toba Time, Black Vaudeville and the Theater Owners Booking Association in Jazz Age America by Michelle R. Scott. The winner of this year's Freedley Award brilliantly explores the cultural significance and history of the Theater Owners Booking Association, or TOBA, which provided a crucial platform for Black performers to work during the early 20th century. Known as the Chitlin Circuit, TOBA helped shape the careers of many Black American entertainers in a still highly segregated society, offering them opportunities in vaudeville and variety shows across the country. Through rich and critical archival research, Michelle R. Scott delves deeply into the struggles faced by these artists, including poor working conditions and lower pay, while highlighting their contributions to American entertainment and the development of the Black musical and theatrical traditions. The narrative also examines Toba's role in fostering creativity and resilience among its performers, many of whom became iconic figures in the realms of jazz, blues, and comedy. This is an essential study that will undoubtedly make a huge image in the field of theater and performance studies, Black studies, and American studies for its insights into both the hardships and triumphs of Black vaudeville performers and their lasting impact in US cultural history. The writing is vivid, engaging, and illuminating. The TLA Freedley Award Committee congratulates Dr. Scott on a remarkable achievement in scholarship.
Good evening. My name is Michelle R. Scott, and I want to extend my sincere thanks to the Theater Library Association, this year's Freedley Prize jury, and those who nominated me for the George Freedley Memorial Prize. I am greatly honored and so appreciative. Toba Time is both an institutional biography and a social history of the circuit that was the foundation of live Black entertainment in the early 20th century in a racially segregated America. TOBA stands for the Theater Owners Booking Association, but also for Tough on Black Actors. Collecting the fragments of Toba's narrative has been a formidable task that took over 10 years amid teaching and advising. Unlike the records of large white managed corporations, there is no singular archive or collection of Toba management accounts. Aside from 4 very valuable boxes of information within the Middle Georgia Archives in Macon, Georgia, materials are scattered across the country and initially may not appear to be directly related to Toba's history. I combed through 21 collections at the National Museum of American History in the Archive Center of the Smithsonian Institution, collections at the Harry Ransom Center at UT Austin, boxes at the Moreland Spingarn Research Center at Howard University, information in the Manuscript Archives and Rare Book Library at Emory University in Atlanta, several collections at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture and the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts, and several dozen collections at the Library of Congress. I want to thank the curators, archivists, and museum specialists who were a part of my wide-ranging search for anything Toba related. Although some primary sources are digitized, many are not, making the process of tracking down the circuit's origins a far-reaching historical treasure hunt. The story of the power that executive board members or managers like S.H. Dudley or Sam Reven wielded to book performers, market acts, or franchise theaters were gleaned from archival records of theater management executives, annual corporation reports, personal correspondence, advertisements for theater support industries like boarding houses or restaurants, tax documents, and probate records held in Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, and Washington, D.C. But Toba Time is also a social history of a Black entertainment enterprise. And I was interested in the lived experiences of the singers, the dancers, comedians who graced Toba stages. To find out these stories, I combed through scrapbooks, theater playbills, photos, advertisements, contracts, oral histories, census and city directories, vaudeville scripts, sheet and recorded music, and most prominently Black newspapers. The ins and outs of Toba's stories could be found and featured in newspapers like the Chicago Defender or the Pittsburgh Courier. I want to thank my acquisitions editors both then and now at the University of Illinois Press, including Dominique Moore, Allison Syring, and Don Durante, as well as the production and marketing teams at UIP. This project would not have been finished without funding from the Smithsonian Institution Senior Fellowship, as well as internal grants at my institution, the University of Baltimore County, or UMBC. I was fortunate enough to receive grants from the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, as well as the Drescher Center for Humanities at UMBC. Lastly, the financial and intellectual resources of the Mellon Mays Graduate Initiatives Program also provided me with the necessary space and time to write. On a personal note, the research and writing of the study would be impossible without the networking with the like-minded scholars in my various professional associations, like the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, or the Association of Black Women Historians. My UMBC colleagues were invaluable. My students were wonderful. Mentors, advisors, sister scholars, writing partners, soror scholars, and singing partners all made this book happen. A circle of family, friends, and loved ones kept me grounded while I completed this manuscript, including my family on the West Coast, my Scott family, and my in-laws on the East Coast, the Hillman, Williams, and Wharton families. Thank you for every well wish and prayer. It was so needed. To my husband, Michael, and my bonus daughter, Micaiah, thank you. I am immensely grateful for your continuous loving support and your belief in this project. Especially to my husband, Michael, thank you for your humor as I endeavored to write a book about a national theater circuit amid a global pandemic. This work was written for Toba Troopers, the entertainers, the managers, and the audience members who kept Black vaudeville alive. It was also written for the keepers of their legacies, a legacy of interracial entrepreneurship and Black artistic excellence in the earliest 20th century. As Cap Calloway, who graced my book cover, mentioned, was Toba tough? Yes, indeed it was. But it was great too. It served as a trading ground for artists like Sammy Davis Jr., the Nicholas Brothers, Bessie Smith, Alberta Hunter, and hundreds of other African American entertainers as they forged their way to become stars in American entertainment. Thank you again to the Theater Library Association for this award, and good night.
And now I'm pleased to announce one of two special jury prize winners this year, because we had a really, truly incredible selection of monographs and edited editions for us to read and enjoy. And we're so very happy to announce our special jury prize. The Routledge Anthology of Women's Theater Theory and Dramatic Criticism, edited by Catherine Burrows and J. Ellen Gaynor, is a remarkable and necessary text and is a clear choice for this year's special jury prize. Burrows and Gaynor have given the discipline a fantastic resource for both educators and scholars alike. This text is the first wide-ranging anthology of theater theory and dramatic criticism about women writers. It is a remarkable achievement and long overdue, and we are so glad to see this contribution to scholarship, teaching, and theory in print. Featuring key primary texts accompanied by insightful essays, the collection situates and recontextualizes women's voices within male-dominated traditions of the field. It showcases women's diverse and ongoing contributions to theater and performance studies, artistry, and scholarship, and expands our understanding of theoretical and critical discourse beyond conventional production and publication spaces. Burroughs and Gaynor, as well as their many collaborators, offer a contemporary and fresh perspective, highlighting a vibrant, intelligent, and deeply informed canon that paves the way for a new era of scholarship, learning, and artistic expression.
Hello, my name is Catherine Burroughs, Professor Emerita of English at Wells College and Courtesy Professor of Performing Arts and Media Studies at Cornell University.
And I'm Ellen Gaynor, Professor of Performing and Media Arts, also at Cornell. We're deeply honored to have received this award from TLA, and we want to express our thanks to the award committee for its recognition of our anthology. We also want to thank the American Society for Theater Research for its sponsorship of our working group on women's theater theory and dramatic criticism, which was the origin of this project. Many of the participants in that seminar became contributors to the volume and helped us develop the framework for the collection. Editor Ben Piggott, formerly of Routledge, supported our concept from its outset. He helped to shape the project further and secured our publishing contract, and he remained committed to our work through pandemic delays, permissions complications, and other logistical challenges. We remain truly grateful for his belief in us and in the anthology. We also greatly appreciate the Routledge editorial, production, and marketing teams for helping carry the project through to completion and beyond. We also thank Cornell University for its financial support, which provided essential funding for permissions fees for the use of textual and visual materials that greatly enhance the collection. We also want to acknowledge the many archives, libraries, estates, publishers, agents, and writers who granted us permissions, as well as the research librarians and archivists who assisted this project. They're all listed in the collection, and we remain grateful for their generosity. And last, but certainly not least, we want to thank all our contributors with whom we share this honor. Their expertise, enthusiasm, and dedication allowed us to make this important, vitally necessary anthology possible. And we are proud to have shepherded each of their labors of love into publication. Thank you all.
The Routledge Anthology of Women's Theater Theory and Dramatic Criticism brings together relevant and illustrative examples of women's writing that are drawn from wide-ranging cultural and historical traditions. This project began in 2018 as a working session of the American Society for Theater Research, building on a related earlier session that had been organized by Penny Farfan and Catherine E. Kelly. In organizing our session, we posed three core questions. One, how does the women's writing speak to our understanding of drama and performance, broadly conceived? Two, how does this writing engage with or prompt us to reconsider understandings of dramatic theory and criticism? And three, how does this women's writing contribute to or help us to revise concepts of drama and performance in relation to history and culture? This collection underscores the simple fact that women have a long history of producing theater and criticism, although it may not have always been apparent to such, nor has it been embraced within these traditions. For now established reasons, of course. Women authors may have used alternative genres, sometimes without a public aim, to express themselves, including letters, diaries, marginalia, prefaces, epilogues, scrapbooks, or other creative forms. Our collection has four primary goals: to introduce women's long history of producing theater theory and dramatic criticism. 2, to demonstrate the variety of ways that women writers have responded to theater and performance and have challenged and are still challenging traditional male-authored practices of theater, performance, drama, and criticism. 3, to make available actual documents that women theater theorists, practitioners, and critics produced so that users have readier access to them for instructional, creative, and scholarly purposes. And 4, to participate in the ongoing practice of expanding our historical, theoretical, critical, and aesthetic understanding of theater and performance. Today and in the future, we hope that students, teachers, and scholars will find our anthology helpful as they create their own investigations into the exciting world of women's theater theory and dramatic criticism.
And our second special jury prize, equally wonderful, is by Beatrice J. Risk, A History of Latinx Performing Arts in the US in 2 volumes. This is a remarkable work of scholarship, which notably for such an immense project is a monograph. We believe it is truly one of a kind, a comprehensive, meticulously documented, and thoroughly readable history of Latinx performing arts from the 16th century to the present in what is now the United States. It is also written from inter- and multidisciplinary perspectives. Volume 1 focuses on Mexican-American / Chicana / Chicano work as it has been shaped as other from the mainstream culture's point of view, while the second volume is dedicated to other Latinx communities, Puerto Rican, Neo-Rican, Cuban American, and transnational migrations across the Americas and the Caribbean. In each, Risk embraces all aspects of performance: texts, productions, artists, artistry, reviews, within their larger socio-political and historical contexts, and most importantly, the lived experiences of Latinx artists. In her preface, Risk states, quote, "I have been working on this project for a very long time," end quote. And given its scope and detail, we believe that to be true. The Freedley Award Committee is pleased to honor this exceptional and necessary double volume with its special jury prize.
Good evening, librarians, artists, theater makers, friends, and fans of the performing arts who are gathered tonight to celebrate the 2023 Theater Library Association Awards. My name is Beatrice Risk, and it is a great honor to be the recipient of the George Freedley Memorial Award Special Jury Prize for my books, A History of Latinx Performing Arts in the US, Volume 1 and 2. I'm grateful and proud of this recognition, especially coming from the Theater Library Association, whose membership includes great artists, experts, professionals, connoisseurs, and so on. It is a privilege to accept this award, and it goes without saying that this moment represents one of the greatest achievements in my career. I know this is a highly coveted prize, and I do congratulate all of the brilliant authors who competed with my work. This 2-volume book encompasses the theatrical activities of artists who represent more than 60 million Latinx living in the country, the nation's largest minority group. On behalf of all of them, I thank you for highlighting the integral importance in US culture with this award. The drive to answer questions on self-definition as the Latinx population grows has triggered the need to produce cultural discourses to promote increasing public understanding an appreciation of Latinx artistic and cultural contributions to the complex society that represents the US today. And what vehicle can be more important than theater, that mirror that is held up to society to reflect social realities and transformations, among other important issues. I have worked on this project for a very long time. It is the result, on one hand, of my own interpretation of data collected mostly from performances and theater plays that I have attended to all over the country or viewed through video format, and more recently, transmitted on internet platforms. On the other hand, my work has been grounded on extensive research from varied academic areas and material I have called from archives in different institutions and libraries, such as our host, the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts, the Library of Congress, the Smithsonian History Museum and the American Art Museum, the Hispanic Collection of the University of Miami, among others. Without the documentation that I have gathered from these repositories to provide the historical, social, and political context in which the Latinx performing arts have developed, this project would have not been possible. I must say that I started my research before the digital age. In this respect, I still remember the long hours I spent at the above library's reference rooms, including the grandiose New York Public Library, located right across 42nd Street from the City University of New York Graduate Center, where I completed my doctoral studies at the time. In closing, I want to thank my publisher, Routledge, for their great work they have put into my books, and want to express my immense gratitude one more time to my family, immediate and extended, for their endless encouragement, patience, and love. Thank you for your time and devotion to the performing arts that we all share.
We hope you've enjoyed our celebration this evening. As always, we are incredibly grateful that you've joined us tonight to honor these extraordinary winners and their achievements from the past year.
Thank you to our wonderful staff at the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts who made this virtual ceremony possible. Kelsey Lapagard, Sebastian Becerra, and Nick Karalexis.
Visit nypl.org to learn about other upcoming public programs at the library. You can learn more about the Theater Library Association at tla-online.org, and please consider joining our collegial community.
Congratulations again to this year's winning authors. We look forward to helping you with your future research.
And now the evening will conclude with our slideshow of select items from the New York Public Library's special collections related to this year's winning books.
We look forward to the year ahead in Performing Arts Scholarship, and thank you for joining us for the TLA Book Awards.
Good night.
Good night.